Hey guys, my name is Jonathan Richmond. I'm a film composer, sound designer, producer. I'm here today to talk with Soundiron about my synthesizers, my film scores, and what I have coming out, and their amazing Olympus choir. Yeah, so I'm not classically trained. I didn't go to like Berklee School of Music or anything, but I literally spend 18 hours a day sometimes in here. And sometimes if I'm not working on a score, I'm researching and I'm listening to scores and I'm listening to old classical music like Debussy or Chopin or Tchaikovsky because you can learn so much on your own. You really can. And obviously music school is great and you can learn so much from music school and you can learn things that you won't learn by yourself at music school, but you can learn things on your own that you won't get from being spoon-fed at music school or something like that. But I have nothing against music school. Looking back on it, especially how competitive the market is right now, any edge you have helps, but that's where having, just being super driven and just having the tenacity of like, I'm literally going to spend 18 hours in here just working on music and really trying to hone my craft because, so many kids have MacBooks. Every kid has a MacBook. Everyone can make music. So you have to be the one that's like, no, I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to work the hardest. I'm going to be the most driven person in the room. But ever since I was a little kid, my mom, before I was born, was playing music. So I kind of have music imprinted on my DNA in a sense, because she literally was playing guitar when I was in the womb. The vibrations are just going straight in. So that kind of helped, I think. And then my grandpa's a professional, or he was a classically trained jazz guitar player and pianist. And so that's definitely in my blood to love music and to write music. And I was trained for a little bit as a kid, took some piano lessons, didn't stick with it, unfortunately. I really wish I had now. But, like I was saying, it's how hard are you willing to work? That's really what it comes down to, I feel, is how hard are you willing to work at it? Because, there are kids going to school. There are kids being classically trained right now as we're speaking. There's kids learning how to compose and learning counterpoint. There's so many resources out there too. I have so many books about like orchestration and MIDI orchestration and composing for this and composing for that. But yeah, man, just really honing in and finding out what's gonna spark your fire and what's gonna force you to learn, like what's gonna be fun while you're doing it, because you don't want to just torture yourself and sit in here and every time you mess up, smack your hand with a ruler because you messed up the thing, just really working on your style, because I'm not gonna be the world's most, I'm not gonna be like the world's next greatest classical composer. That's just not me. But if I can find like, oh, that's John's sound. That's like if it's recognizable, like a Thomas Newman style. I'm not comparing myself to him at all, but if you have a certain sound, that's kind of what it comes down to, I guess. So it's just like, hard work, just your drive, and I'm ridiculously driven. I feel like I think I spend too much time in here. So George is a family friend. He's a friend of my aunt's, and I think I was like 13 or something. And we were up having a dinner party, like Christmas or 4th of July or something like that. And we were at his house, and he said, "Hey man, like I know you're a musician. Want to come check out my studio?" Like real humble, like not even like just nothing. I was just expecting a normal studio, and he has a really beautiful studio built in his garage. And he took me in. I think he was working on Dora at the time, Dora the Explorer. And I just remember seeing, and he kind of showed me what he was doing. And the thing I took away from that, he was so proficient. I remember back then, he scored something like 30 seconds, like just me walking into the room, and he just started scoring to it. And I was like, wow. I was like, you're crafting, like you're telling a story to a story. And that really kind of stuck with me. I remember going home that night, like listening to film scores and stuff. And then a few years later, I got a mentorship with him after after like 4 years. I was sending him just terrible MIDI mock-ups of my music, of what I thought was film music. And it was just, and he would, send me back notes and he would say, yeah, maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that, kind of massage this a little bit. And then 4 years in, I hit him up one day and I said, hey man, I'm really trying to get into this. I'd scored a few films by that point, like a couple indie films, a couple like student films. And he said, all right, man, yeah, come up, let's see how it goes. And then he started mentoring me. And really what I took away from that was, because he works in TV primarily, and what I really took away was just the proficiency, like the turnaround. His ability to write was ridiculous. Like it was seriously, I'd never seen anyone just pump out music like that. And so that really stuck with me, where it's like, wow, you really have to be proficient at this. Like if you're gonna wanna, you can't half-ass this. Like you really have to go in, lock it down, and just get it. Just turn around great music and don't think twice. That was the other thing that I learned. Is he was like, your first idea, just run with it. And then if you listen back later, just write your first idea, flesh it all out, and then step back, go get some coffee, come back and listen to it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But always just run with your first idea, because at least that way if it's bad, you're getting all the bad ideas out of the way. But surprisingly, like nothing he wrote was like terrible. It really it kind of pissed me off, because he would be writing and I'll just be like, this is so, it matches so perfect. Like every downbeat he would hit, like he has this certain way of hitting all the cuts. And I always ask him like, how do you do that? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I just do it. He's like, it just kind of falls in line like that. And then I think a lot of composers realize that, like when you start scoring a film, sometimes the cuts just line up, which is really cool. It's kind of a blessing. But yeah, proficiency, definitely proficiency. Just being able to write and not think twice about it. That's kind of what I took away. And so I'm working on that. It's just, man, it's something else. Yeah, I think it's so funny. I'm sure you've noticed this, and I'm sure every musician has this moment. It's not a moment, it happens all the time actually. But when you're working on something, if you just bring someone into the room with you, and I know there's thousands of interviews of people talking about this, but you bring someone into the room with you, you're hearing it through their ears. It's so strange. Like because my girlfriend's a musician, and she's very blunt and very honest. If I tell her like, tear this apart, what's wrong with this? She'll let me know. But sometimes she doesn't even have to talk. She'll just come in and be in the room, and I'll play it. And then 30 seconds in, I go, okay, leave. I know what's wrong with it. I'll fix it right now. And she's like, all right. But, yeah, having people come in the room, like being able to step away, being able to hear your music with fresh ears is really important. And sometimes it's hard to do, because if you get really attached to what you're doing, it's kind of hard to go back and rewrite. So I try to, if I'm working on something, I like to write loose skeletons, kind of like a suite. Like I'll write like a very loose suite of ideas, and then send it to the director, send it to whoever I'm working with, because I don't want to put blood, sweat, and tears into something on day one and have them say, oh, we don't like it, and then me be like, oh, well, damn, like I really got attached to that. So it's good to have kind of that duality of, I love my music, but I'm also willing to get rid of it, which is kind of what this job's about. Because sometimes, and I've been in positions where someone really liked the music I was writing for the whole project, and then 3 days out, they were like, can you change this? And then can you change this? And then can you change that? And it just kept going and going and going. And I had to call them and say, were you listening to the tracks that I was sending you? Like, did you hear what I was sending you? Because you okayed everything. And then, so being able to change and not be too attached to your baby is really important. I think some of the biggest hurdles, what I've noticed so far is it's becoming a increasingly flooded market. And so there's so many people out there sending. I'm on like I find a lot of gigs through forums like ModDB, and I'm not gonna give away all my secrets, but being on forums and seeing all of the composers posting like, hey, work for hire, work for hire, work for hire. That's one of the hurdles, is kind of getting in first and letting people know like, hey, like I'm a consummate professional. Like I'll really sit down and talk with you, and give me a call. Like let's really work on your score. Like I want to do the best job. Being the guy with your foot in the door first is becoming more and more of a challenge. And aside from that, I think it's really understanding the subject matter is something that I really, really focus on. Because if you write an awesome song, but it doesn't fit the film, then you didn't really write an awesome song. You just kind of wrote a song. So you really have to understand the subject matter as much as possible, really get inside the character's head. Hopefully you can have a good dialogue with the director, which I've been fortunate to have really good dialogues with most of the directors I've worked with. Aside from that, for me, one of the biggest challenges is balancing social life with the work. Because like I said, I'll stay in here for days, and then I'll come out with a full beard and I'll be skinny like Castaway. I'll look like Tom Hanks at the end of the movie, because I'll just stand here all day. So getting out and getting fresh air, kind of seeing the sunshine and hanging out with the birds it is really important sometimes, which is why I go for so many walks. I really try to hit a hard reset as often as possible. So I'll wake up in the morning before I even start working, full glass of water, go for a 15-minute walk, just to kind of get my head in the right place and really focus on what I'm going to work on for the rest of the day. And then, yeah, man, just chilling out. just detaching from the work. Because if you work from home, you know, you're kind of always, the opportunity to go, oh, that's a great melody, is always right there. So sometimes just saying, I'm not going to work anymore tonight. I'm going to hang out with the girlfriend. We're going to go get dinner. You know, I'm going to walk the dog. I'm going to, you know, I'm just going to detach for the rest of the night. I'm working a little more on that. Because I love what I do. I love writing music. I love working with film directors and game developers and really coming up with like these fun ideas and these awesome scores, which I think are awesome at least. But yeah, being able to detach from the work and just hit. I'm really jealous of people. I think Giacchino has a interview where he says, I work 8 to 5 and that's it. But he's also at a place where he can kind of dictate his own schedule. And also he's just been doing it for a while, so I'm sure he's a little more comfortable with saying, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm fine. I don't need to work anymore tonight. But I'm really jealous of people that can put a firm deadline on, like, or like a firm work schedule on their career, because I'm so the opposite. If no one pulls me out of this room, I'll just fall asleep on the floor, which I've done. I took a nap on the floor one time, just working on a score, and I was pulling an all-nighter, and it was like, all right, 5 minutes, and then you just wake up and keep working. But I love it. I'm not complaining. I love it so much. I really wouldn't rather do anything. Just writing music. That's like, what kid doesn't at one point want to be like the rock star or whatever, you know? And I don't want to be a rock star. Like I said, I'm not a huge stage person. I'm definitely a studio rat. I'm definitely a behind the scenes kind of guy. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, you know? And I'm sure every composer has their thing that they're like, oh, this is the hard part for me, or this is the hard part for me. But you know, that's kind of what it is for me. It's just really, for me, it's just detaching from the work. It's just pulling away and saying, all right, I'm not going to work anymore. And then 9 times out of 10, what happens is my girlfriend comes in and she'll be like, hey, do you want to jam? And then that's good, because then I can take a break from this music and keep working on that music, you know? So we'll jam and we'll have like 3-hour long like synth sessions. And she's actually really good at like the drum brute and programming like beats on the drum machines and stuff. And the brute's really cool because it has like really nice features where you can really kind of customize what you're doing, and you can set loops, and that stuff's cool. But yeah, that was a very long, winding answer of all of my shortcomings with music, I guess. So this is a Star Wars short film that I just scored, and a long time ago I fell in love with Soundiron's Olympus choir. It was one of the first choirs I found that really, it worked. It was so dynamic. I felt like what you were able to do with it, with the legatos and the vowel changes, and even just like the offset, how quickly we're able to let the choir come in and setting the attack. It really, I don't know, it just really worked with me. And so I love this Olympic choir that you guys did. And I really use it on a lot of stuff because I'm a huge fan of choir. I'm a big fan of like dramatics. So anything that I can, if I can do anything that sounds remotely Duel of Fatesy, I'll do it, you know? And so, yeah, this choir's great. I'll give you guys a little taste of it. It's just so nice. Like, it really just, like, you can really hear, it's like the vocals are very passionate. You can really, if you layer a few of them on, you change the vowels on a few of them, you can really get a wide, full, like really bright, crisp sound. I think that's what I liked about it the most. It was really, it's really responsive. It's really bright. You guys did a really great job with that. Because I've used other choirs where it's like, okay, like this sounds like people singing in a room, you know, but this one I can really get like that powerful, like operatic sound. So I'm really pleased with it. And I really do use it on so much. So maybe I should, you know, work on some mixing techniques and make it stand out a little differently, but I don't know. You guys really seriously killed it with this one. I've been using it forever. It was a culmination of many years of feeling real sad that I can't write amazing John Williams style music. And so being able to do this was a lot of fun. the choir, man. I'm telling you, man. And especially because this scene is with Palpatine, and if you listen to the score, the original score, that's kind of reminiscent of the Palpatine, the Emperor theme is very like low vocal, like men's choir, and it's very low and ominous, and I don't know, it just really, it clicked. As soon as I was contacted for this job, I knew I was going to use the Olympus choir. Like I honestly was like, oh, I already know I'm using that men's choir, because it hits. It just like the vocal register that you guys captured is just, it's fantastic. I really do love it. Started off with the men's sustain vowels on O, just going, and then those are playing with the some legato slurs on the violins over here, so I can get a real nice kind of drift. I can show you some of the female choirs, how the female choirs come in, because I like the way that they really kind of, so there's like a nice little transition here that they helped set up. And this is where going to music school comes in handy, because you can explain in more detail what you're talking about. But yeah, you know, a lot of what I do is just instinct. It's a lot of just instinctual writing, paying attention to film scores, paying attention and harking back to classical music that I listened to when I was a kid, and just and really just, you know, pulling from experience and pulling from like what feels right. Since I'm not classically trained, you know, a lot of it is very raw. It's just, what am I feeling? How do I explain this musically? And I'm fortunate to have a decent music background, but you know, a lot of it's really just instinctual. I really love the way that the choir and the violins play with each other in this little segment. And also just being inspired by the instruments, you know. If the software itself doesn't speak to you, then you're not really going to get very far, which is why I've always turned to the Olympus choir. And I've used other choirs, but none of them held up, you know. None of them really spoke to me like this one does. But, you know, I really just had a blast working on this. Honestly, it was just such a great, it was like boot camp, kind of, all of the training, all of the years of, you know, gathering instruments and learning orchestration and really teaching myself how to write for different parts and how to make sure that the timbres work correctly with each other and not overlapping. Really, it really all came in culmination here. And hopefully I get to do more purely orchestral stuff, because right now I find myself doing a lot of hybrid scores. And especially with TV, it's such a quick turnaround that I don't really get to sit. I spent a few days really sitting and orchestrating every little piece out to the best of my abilities, and you know, just having a good time with it, man. Because that's what it really comes down to, is just having fun. If you're not having fun doing it, why are you doing it? I just want to, I want to love what I do. I don't want to, and there's a lot of stress that comes with it, but at the end of the day, you get to write music, and what's better than that? Like, what's better than just writing music, you know, by choice and for something, you know? Yeah, so I'm using the men sustains for the intro right here. And that's with the offset at 0, so it does have a nice little lead in, so it doesn't come in super hard. Like I was saying, I like to kind of I like to let it breathe, I like to let things come in, especially at the beginning, to really set the mood. Especially on this track. And then both the vowels are just O, it's just double O's, with a decent swell in there. And then one of the O's, or I'm sorry, one of the, because you guys have 2 in here, so you have, you know, vowel 1, vowel 2. Vowel 2 attack is just on, dead on, so it hits just before vowel 1 hits, which has a slightly larger attack on it, or slightly further attack on it. For the women's, which one did I use for women's? Let me pull this up. And that like just the classic choir of the women's voices going off, it really just, it's so impactful. What's this one? What's this one's hitting? I try to be as meticulous as possible with my labeling, and sometimes I fall short, you know? You can't be perfect all the time. So these are all of them together. But I like, there's actually a lot of other NKIs that you guys have in here that I really like. But things like that, just like all these different kinds of sounds that you guys put in this, you know, they're extremely useful, and they give you lots of really cool tools to use, because that's the thing with a lot of sampled instruments is when you're, anyone can just make a cello patch, or anyone can make a choir patch, but then it's all the little intricacies that you put in as well, like the falls, the clusters. I mean, I use this stuff, like I did a horror track and used a little bit of this on there. You know, just really just like interesting different types. Like the morphs are great. It's just really creepy. I love it. Yeah, you guys have some really great stuff in here. Yeah, I love it. You guys seriously killed it with this. And I also like, I love you guys' Glitch Hero. It doesn't get as much love as I think it should, but I really do enjoy you guys' Glitch Hero. It's really cool. It's a really cool, interesting application. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Where's my stuff at? I love it. Yeah, there's some really cool shit in here. I love it. Yeah, just put a sub in there and let all the neighbors know what's going on. Let the neighbors know what's happening in here. Let them know we're writing some cool shit. Everyone kind of knows what the classic Moog sound is, and this one just makes the craziest, because the oscillator doesn't track properly across the keyboard right now. So when you go up, the notes go out of tune, and it's already a mono synth, but it almost has polyphony now, which is weird, but the polyphony is out of tune, and it just creates these really crazy sounds. So this is this. Yeah, so that's that. Sweet. Yeah, and it doesn't sound like that. And the thing I love about it is it's truly a one of one. It's really, this is the only Mother 32 that I know of that sounds like this, because it's the only one that has this exact defect. It's not a defect. It was just handled improperly in shipping, and someone didn't know what they had in the box, and they just, you know how it goes. We have the Korg MS-20, which is really, I feel like every synthesizer nerd should have one, because it's just a classic. It really, and this isn't the original. I think the original came out in, I want to say 81 or 79 or 81. Anyway, it's much larger than this one too. But yeah, this is the MS-20 Mini. Do I have you set up right now? Could, let's see. And just creates like real good classic tones. Like, it's just fun. I have a love-hate relationship with this synthesizer, because I'm so happy with the peak that now every synthesizer that I own, I want to perform like that. And this one, he's not a one-trick pony. There's a lot you can do with him, obviously. But every time I'm like, you know what, maybe I should sell that one and get a new synthesizer. He comes up with some new crazy sound, or he comes up with, but you know, I'm able to program and mess with some knobs and patch it correctly, and it just makes some crazy noise. And I'm like, all right, you get to stay for a little longer. You've done well. Go back to bed. This is fun. The little Teenage Engineering pocket operator, and he's dead. Oh no. Anyway, Teenage Engineering pocket operator factory. I believe this is the PO16. Yes, PO16. This is fun. I've made some really fun sounds with that, and it has a 16-step sequencer. Teenage Engineering is crazy, because they've really, look how small this is. This is so tiny, and they really put so much into it. Like the possibilities with that truly are endless, and it just goes so deep. It's insane. Yeah, teenage engineering's on another level. This one's fun. It's Velcro to the top because I like to integrate these two. The thing I like about the MS-20 is you can run signal in, and then you can run the signal. So I could plug this, which is the Korg Volca FM, which is fun. It's just a Volca synth, or I mean a FM synthesizer. This one's really fun. Funny story with this, was on a plane one time. I took this on a plane, and it's a little suspect looking. You know, let me pull this back off. It's a little, it can look a little interesting sometimes if you're on an airplane. And so I'm sitting in the seat, I think I had a window seat, and the flight attendant came by, and she was taking drink orders, and I saw her walk by with the cart, and then she came back and did a double take, and she goes, "What's that?" And I could tell she was very suspect of it, and I was like, "Oh, it's just a synthesizer, I'm just making music." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And then they brought over another flight attendant, and I don't know, I have long hair, but I don't think I'm like a scary looking guy, you know. I have a nice face, I'm friendly, I smile a lot. But then I did a demo for the flight attendants and was playing them some melodies on this, letting them know that it's just a simple little synthesizer and that I'm just a giant dork. That's all it is. I'm just a nerd. I'm just trying to make some music on a plane. With this jack, you can sync it up with any other synthesizer you want, or you can get, I think they have like 9 of these now. I'm trying to get all of them that I can. But yeah, you can sync this up with other ones and MIDI clock them out, and then you can also audio out. And the cool thing that I was talking about with the MS-20 is you can run a audio signal into the MS-20. So then the MS-20 is now processing whatever audio you're sending into it, and you can make some really cool shit with it, man. Like, it's nice sometimes too, because if I'm working on a score or something and I need to take a break, I can just come over here and I just space out. I can just stand here for hours and just twist knobs. And I try to wear headphones when I can, because no one wants to hear beep boop just going all day, because that's what happens when you start jamming on a synth. If you're hearing a specific melody, if you hear a specific patch that you're going for, it's probably best to keep the headphones on and to not let all the neighbors know that you're spending 6 hours standing in one spot. Any sort of synth like this, anything that's like really purely analog and does not save presets, that can be good or bad, being able to save presets. It's nice because it really forces you to extract everything out of it as possible. If you can just save a preset, you might create something that's cool and then you save it. But with this, you really have to get what you want, take meticulous notes, take pictures, take videos, literally I'll jot down a diagram of the synthesizer, and you'll never get it back. You'll never get back to that sound that you had it at. There's certain sounds that you can get if it's simple, but if you have a real complex patch going on, that's it, man. I hope you recorded it well, because if you didn't, it's gonna be real hard to get back. This is my Moog Sub Fatty, and this is another one that I got off of OfferUp, and it was great. I remember. I think I actually got this on Valentine's Day. So I was on OfferUp, just looking around, because 2 or 3 years ago I went through a phase of that's when I got this. That's when I got the MS-20. But I think it was on Valentine's Day, and I told my girlfriend, "Hey, I'm gonna go run an errand real quick. I'll be right back." I went and got a synthesizer. She was thrilled when I came back with that on Valentine's Day. But it was nice because we ended up going out to dinner and then coming back. We just jammed for 4 hours. This one's fun. It's just a classic. It gives you that classic Moog sound without having, I would love a Voyager. Obviously, everyone wants a Voyager, but not everyone has the $3,000 to buy one, or the room. So this is nice because you really get that classic Moog sound, and you get presets. You get to save. I think it has like 144 little saves that you can have on there. Micro Korg. I have owned this synth forever. I think I've had this synth for like 8 years. This is the synth that when I was in a band, I wrote like some fun melodies on this one. Yeah, this is a cool synth, because really when you really learn, the thing with all these is every other synth has knobs on the outside that adjust the attack, your cutoff, your resonance, your multi-drive, your oscillator 1, oscillator 2. This one is a fun synth to learn on, because it really forces you to menu dive, and there's no menu, so you really have to Like, you know, it's not plugged in right now, unfortunately, or it's plugged in, but it's just not live. But with this, you know, you set whatever sound you're going for, and then you have these two knobs. You're like, okay, well, I want a filter, so then you scroll over to filter, and then you come across here, and you figure out what aspect of the filter you want to cut off or raise or adjust, and you got your high pass, low pass, band pass. This one's fun. It's kind of like, it's everyone's first synth, but at the same time, it's kind of an intermediate synth because you really do need to understand. It's not straightforward. It's not laid out. Like this one, anyone can come up to this and say, okay, well, I don't want it to come in right away, so I want to adjust attack a little bit, and then boom, your attack comes in later. With this one, there's a little bit of menu diving involved, and I really like it. I've come up with some really fun sounds with that one, which is really cool. You know, and every synth evokes different sounds, and obviously, you know, I keep raving about the peak, and the peak can mimic a Moog sound. So if you're going for that classic, you know, that fat, chunky, that funk, the bounce of a Moog, the peak can accomplish that, but having the actual Moog to do it with, it really just evokes a certain quality. And then they're all midied out, so I can just have all the synths running at the same time, come up with a melody here, let this run over to that one, you know, change some sounds, you know, adjust some frequencies. This is fun. I like this one. This is Moog's Theremin, which is their MIDI version of a Theremin, which is really cool. It doesn't get as much love as I probably should give it. That's a fun one though. I used it on Parker Plays last year. I needed to write a Halloween theme, and so I was sitting here like woo, and that was really fun. It takes a lot of focus. It really you kind of have to zen out when you play it because. And there's people that they just rip on theremins. It's crazy. Like they're just so good, but really getting like your volumes with the left hand, your pitch with your right hand, making sure. Right now it wouldn't work very well because it's too close to everything else. So it's very a middle of the room instrument. You really need it away from everything else. But this is fun. It has tons of presets on it, and so you can get a lot of good theremin-esque sounds. Or theremin, how do I describe it? Theremin styles, you play like a theremin, but then you get like really cool like distorted leads, or you get whatever sort of presets they have in there. So that one's fun. Love this synth so much. I think I've had it for 2 years now, maybe a year and a half. I got it last year around my birthday at some point. And I really splurged for this. Where do I begin? It's just, it does everything. It really does everything. It does really, really, really low growling bass. You can hit really high leads with it. Everything in between, to be honest. It even has sound effects. You can get some really cool stuff going with this. Like, what's this one? Just really crazy, fun stuff, man. Just engine room. I like this preset. This one's actually cool. I've used this for sound design stuff. It's just like the preset's called engine room. And so I built a little bit off of this. I just took what they gave me and ran with it a little bit. Oh, you're a little dusty. I'm sorry, buddy. I need to clean you off. But yeah, engine room. This is a great one. And like I said, this is why I really want to sub in here, because I know there's a lot of low end that this synth is delivering that I'm just missing out on, which really bums me out. But I like to hear my mixes in friends' studios whenever I can, because I like to hear it on as many different speakers as possible. And every time anyone comes over, I always show them this instantly. Because this is just, I don't know. And everyone has like their different, like there's like, you know, guys like the Richard Devines, the modular guys, and you know, there's so many different styles of synthesis to get into. And there's guys that are fully in the box, like, you know, but I like hardware. I'm a fan of knobs. I'm a fan of being able to, like, tactile, just have, you know, a loop run and being able to adjust, you know, whatever I want on the fly, not have to click and drag. And I can really, really, truly get lost in this forever. And I've written, like I just showed you, like the TEDx piece that I just finished, literally was entirely written on this. And it just really, I don't know, it really just speaks to me. Like we have like this really good working relationship. He's like my little, I should put him on salary, man, because he does have to work for me. It's honestly crazy. I really love this synth. It's got really good effects in it too, which I like, because sometimes synthesizers will come with effects built in, but they're just not that great.
Yeah, they're cheesy.
Yeah, they're cheesy. Sometimes, and this, I mean, it has a fantastic reverb with 3 different types of reverbs. Obviously time for length of reverb. It has delay on it, which is fantastic. It has 3 types of chorus, which is amazing. The distortion is incredible. It has distortion and it has overdrive, which is great because I'm a fan of very distorted synthesizers, very distorted sounds. Is something, things that sound aggressive. Yeah, this one just, I honestly could just go on about this forever. It's just, it's literally the best synth I've ever played. Just really weird shit. Let's see. The ARP on here is great too. The ARP's really good for if you're doing for like the hybrid scores. If you just need to set, let's see if I can't find something. If you need to set like a little pad, you know, if the guy's walking into the building, and, you know, you're trying to set the mood, and then, you know, it starts to amplify a little bit, and the tension starts to build, and it's getting crazier and crazier. It's just such a fun synth to fuck around with, man. I could really spend all day on this. And I like this. This little box is fun. Little Korg SQ1. It's a little tricky to fine tune because all these little knobs tune it, but there's no cents. So it's not like 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent, 4 cent. It's more of a free range, very much like the tuner on a guitar. Like you're not locking in. You're more adjusting it and fine tuning it. That one's fun. This one has a lot of capabilities underneath the hood, which is really cool. It actually goes really deep, which is really sweet. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it. What else do I have in here? Just a bunch of stuff. You know, like if I'm doing like a children's show, and I need a little slide whistle for, like, you know, comedic effect. You know, you gotta have your little toys. You gotta have all the little stuff. You gotta have your skull shakers. Gotta have your skull shakers, you know, available at the front desk of every Guitar Center. They kind of place them like how Walmart's place the beef jerky and the Snickers. You know, where it's like, the last buy, do you want it? They're $2. Of course I want them, man. I use shakers all the time, man. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by today. You can check out my music at JonScores.com. Thanks for watching.